All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Bear with me today. I'm a right-handed person working with their left hand, so if I don't click on you right away when it's your turn to speak, I apologize. I have it so you all can unmute yourselves when it's your time to talk. Please make sure that you mute yourself back when you're done. But we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the November 2020 meeting for Community Council. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order, and then I'm going to turn it over to Amanda. Where did Amanda go? Oh, there you are. Amanda, I'm going to turn it over to you to go over the virtual rules. We've got a couple new people that haven't done virtual meetings,
Sure.
so the floor is yours.
Absolutely. All right. Hey, guys. Welcome back for those of you that have joined us before, and welcome to those who haven't. So just really quickly, we're on 2 different platforms tonight. So the meeting is being conducted over Zoom for those members and key community partners and anyone that's presenting tonight. And then everyone else is watching on Facebook, where they can comment, and where I'll keep updates of links that we're sharing in our Zoom meeting. So just a few administrative items. We do ask, like Kate mentioned, just remain on mute. If you have a question or would like to speak, you should be able to use the raise hand feature. So that should be available in kind of the bottom part. If you're on Zoom, the bottom part of your screen, you should have the ability to raise your hand. If you do that, then just please wait patiently while we kind of get through stuff, and you'll be able to unmute yourself and then ask your question. Another option is using the Q&A, and we do ask that you use the Q&A feature. If you have a question that you want answered, if you don't want to just speak it over the meeting, and we'll answer those as well. And then there's also a chat feature available. And just make sure if you're using that, you are aware of who you're sending your message to. There's ability to send it to all the panelists or all the panelists and attendees. So just be aware of that. And if you're able to, please try to use the Q&A for your questions. But other than that, I think that kind of covers it. And the people you're seeing on the screen are all panelists. There are attendees that are on the call as well. You don't see their faces, but they're here. So yeah, we should have a smooth meeting.
Thanks, Amanda, and that you've jinxed us all. So thank you for the virtual. We are doing something a little different today. So if you are asking questions, you have the ability either to just speak through the microphone, or if you want to be seen while you're asking your question, we can go ahead and do that as well. And so with that, we'll go ahead and if you would all join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. And I invite you all to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All righty. Thank you all for joining me in that. I'm going to go ahead at this point in the meeting and turn it over to Captain Jones. I do not see anybody from the fire department. So Captain Jones, you are on the spot this evening for the Cincinnati Police Department report.
All right. Good evening. Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
All right, good. So just looking at the 28-day, nothing really remarkable over the last 28 days. Not seeing increases really in anything except for aggravated assault, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But looking at property crime, again, everything's pretty much flat, not looking at anything too extraordinary. When I'm looking at year-to-date, Madisonville is doing very well. When you're looking at violent crime, when you compare 2020 to 2019, where it's 25% reduction, the biggest reduction coming from robberies. So in 2018, year-to-date, there were 21 robberies. 2019, there were 15. And here in 2020, we're only looking at 5 robberies total in Madisonville for the entire year. So that's very good. Looking at property crime, we're seeing reductions big time in burglary and B&Es, and I think everybody remembers, might have been just about a year ago where we were at a meeting at the rec center about a big increase in burglaries and B&Es, and here we are looking at the best year in the last 4 years actually. So the one aggravated assault I wanted to talk about is over the weekend on Chandler, we had a juvenile, a 14-year-old who was shot in the hand. What that situation was, there was an altercation that occurred between this juvenile and another juvenile. The parties left. The suspect left, came back in a vehicle, and then fired several shots at the victim, and it struck the victim in the hand. We do know who that suspect is, and we are investigating that in the hope to sign warrants soon. And some of the other aggravated assaults we've seen, almost all of them are situations where the folks are known to each other, either whether it's a domestic situation, a situation where friends all of a sudden don't become friends, and some type of altercation that's occurred at the house. So there's nothing that is too glaring about that. So overall, Madisonville is doing very well. The city is coming down. Again, I talked about this month after month. COVID and some of the other things that happened, we saw a sharp spike in violence all across the city. Madisonville luckily did not see that, but we are seeing everything returning back to what is normal for Cincinnati here over the last several weeks and several months. So we're very happy to see that returning back to where we were. Anybody have any questions or anything?
I have a question. We've actually, and I'm sure you're aware, we've seen the uptick of graffiti art in Madisonville in the form of bees that's been floating around.
Did you say bees? Is that what you said?
That is correct, yes. Brightly painted bees under train trestles, on sides of dumpsters. I believe there were 10 that were spotted as you're going past Madison Bowl, right there where the Oakley train trestle is, that separates Oakley and Madisonville. There's been mixed chatter about it on social media. Some people love it and think it's cute. Other people are stating that it is graffiti because the city, of course, keeps getting called to paint over it.
I think the last time, was there one at Wetzel and was it Rowe and Wetzel?
Yes.
Possibly. Yeah, I think I saw that the other day when I was driving over there. Okay.
In terms of graffiti, how does the city of Cincinnati's police department view that? If somebody's caught?
So, I mean, obviously it's, we don't want it normally. What we would prefer you do is let us know where it's at. Our preference is to try to get it as covered as quick as possible. How we look at it like this: if someone goes and tags a place, there's some type of sense of accomplishment. They go by and they see it. If they tag a place and we're able to respond to it as quickly as possible and get it covered up, it kind of dissuades somebody from doing that, because there is some work and effort put into it. And then when it's taken away quickly, you kind of lose, you're kind of decentivized from doing that. So what I would really like, and if you would email Al Brown and CC myself when those happen, so that we can make sure that we're reaching out to our folks in the city to try to get that covered up as soon as possible.
Okay. If a graffiti artist is caught in the act, what action?
So it could be, depending on where they do it, it could be vandalism, it could be criminal damaging. So it all depends on where it's doing, if it interferes with business and things like that. But it's definitely a crime, and it can be a serious crime depending on where it's done and how it's done. But I would think normally it's going to be some sort of criminal damaging.
Okay. Thank you. Amanda, were there any other questions?
Nope.
All right. We appreciate your time. Thank you, Captain.
All right. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Knox from John P. Parker. Good evening.
Well, good evening, Madisonville. I trust that all is well with everyone and you're in good spirits. Thank you again for allowing us to share with you what's happening at John P. Parker. First of all, I want to say thank you for the caps. We are still receiving caps, and we appreciate that, although we will not be able to get to take the trip to bring the benches back. We still have 2 benches waiting to be installed at Bramble Park. We are going to continue to collect caps because the pandemic will go away, we hope soon, so we can all get back together. Just a few updates of what's happening in our school as we continue to transition. We do have an instructional and operational committees, and we meet often because of so much change and transition. We have developed a take-home pack. Parents are very responsive to that. We have prepared for November and December. This is to complement the remote live with the teacher. The gift of this is that our learners will have face-to-face contact with their teachers 5 days a week. So that is, I'm calling it a gift because before they were not. They were remote on Mondays, Tuesday, Wednesday, A group, Thursday, Friday, B group, and they would work independently. Some of our teachers were able to navigate, and first grade, for example, they were able to be remote every day because of how they were able to manipulate their teachers and the schedules with the learners who were in session and being live with the learners that were at home. So that worked really well. We also have a drop-off plan. Parents have been responsive to that. The district will continue to serve food December 2nd, 9th, and 16th. From 7 a.m. until noon, so families can come and pick up food. I also have the school pantry that will assist with an increased portions of food. I also have a turkey giveaway tomorrow, so we'll be passing out turkeys and canned goods tomorrow. We are also, I only have one ask tonight. We are working really hard to keep teachers uplifted. I shared some of my thinking with Indy, who has been great. We do really well bouncing off of one another and then the action steps that he takes. We have an employee engagement champion. And what we are trying to do is celebrate our teachers. We are going to engage our learners in this activity just to keep them going. This has been very hard. Not only just creating remote, most of it is district curriculum driven. However, we still are creating packets. We still are having one-on-one instruction with learners. We have shifted some teachers so that there is more support. We now have, in conjunction with the district-driven study hall, two of our partners have created a volunteer academic tutor format. So we will be assigning learners within the next week, and we will go live December 8th, I think. So we're excited about that. So I'm going to jump real fast back to the employee engagement champion. Again, teachers are stressed. I'm stressed. Parents are stressed. Everybody is working really hard to make sure that we're closing gaps and that we're engaging our learners and their parents or caregivers. But to celebrate teachers, I think is really important because they never gave up. When this happened in March, it was panic. We didn't know what to do, how to do it. We were all trying to figure it out, and everyone was everywhere. We now have a solid plan for instruction, and teachers are working their butts off. I heard a teacher today from New York share that he's already burnt out, and he usually doesn't get that billing until April. So with this ask, I am asking you to help us celebrate our teachers. And you can just send me an email. Kate, if you will, put my email address in the chat and share with me your thinking. I'm not one to ask for anything. It's whatever you want to share to celebrate the teachers in your community. And you can email me and we will connect. It's important to their mental health, their emotional health, and the profession, because this has been very hard, very hard. So I thank you, and that's all that I have. Open to questions, concerns, and complaints. Okay, well, good night. Stay safe.
Thank you, Ms. Pam. I was trying to get your email in the chat for everyone. Amanda, I just dropped it in there. If you could share that online as well. We'll get you guys taken care of. We appreciate you coming this evening. I think you muted yourself. Or I muted you. Bye, thank you. And with that, I do not see Ms. Wilder here today from Schroeder. So we're going to do a little bit of adjustment here in the order, and Jill Smith is here from the Children's Home. She actually has to step out here early this evening, so I'm going to go ahead and allow you to go ahead and give your update. Ms. Jill, how are you this evening?
Good. How are you? I'm down in my grungy basement. The cat might hop up behind me. But good evening, everyone. And thank you for letting me go a little bit earlier here. Just a few updates. At the Children's Home, we are continuing our in-person programs on campus. We feel that it's important for our students, and we are able to continue that in a safe way with COVID. We still have openings in our preschool program, and we are continuing to have our 4 school-age classrooms, which I did not get the openings on today. We have continued to have students even during blended learning. So those that were on an A schedule would be there on their virtual days and vice versa. I do want to share this Saturday, we have partnered with folks like Molina Healthcare, the Cincinnati Health Department, and we are having a vaccination event. So this is focusing on children ages 6 and 0. We will have vaccinations that they can get on site. So we want all of our children to receive their vaccinations and be current. They will have flu available, MMR, DTaP, chickenpox, and IVP. They will also have flu shots available for the entire family. We were planning a drive-through event where people can pull up into our circular drive between 10 and 2 o'clock on Saturday. We are planning for, if it rains, an alternative where families will still be able to come in, get vaccinations or flu shots, and we can do it in a safe COVID-friendly way, for lack of better words. We do have some additional partners that'll be there. We have one that will have food available for families to take. There'll be some other managed care companies there with some giveaways as well. And I think I've got little teddy bears to give to any of the kids that get a vaccination, because that's never fun. No. But that's what'll be going on at the Children's Home on Saturday from 10 to 2. So if you have young children or know anyone and need flu shots or vaccinations, come on down.
Awesome. Thank you, Jill. Does anybody have any questions for Jill? Amanda, anything online?
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Jill. We appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you. And I will say that we've got details regarding it on our Facebook page. And I believe someone was going to cut our,
You froze, Jill.
I don't know what the right word to use, but was going to repost it on the council's web or Facebook page as well.
Yes,
Yep,
Amanda's
I
actually.
noticed that.
Oh,
So
yep.
Amanda, thank you, Amanda.
Welcome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for sharing
Good night,
that.
everyone.
Good night. Thank you, Jill. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Terry with the, I'm always going to say it because it's changed, Cincinnati and Hamilton County Public Library, Madisonville branch. Did I do it right?
I know. I feel like we have created like a sort of a swear jar. If you say the old name, you got to put a quarter in. But yes, the Cincinnati and Hamilton County Library. I will also add, we do have some of the flyers for Children's Home Vaccination Program at the library. So if you happen to be in, you can grab that as well. Kind of aligned with the vaccinations, give you an update on the COVID testing that we had a few weeks ago. We had about, I want to say a little over 60 community members tested, which is great turnout. We had to make some adjustments outside. Our building obviously is limited on power options, but it was great to have that in the community. And it's likely we might have it again, and I will keep you guys posted if and when we will be able to bring them back out. But the new locations are being added on the Test and Protect website, which you can go on. And hopefully we'll have Madisonville back on there soon. Want to give you guys a quick update on the Great Pumpkin Trail. Again, the community partners that participated were Meek, Artsville, the CRC, MPERC, the Madisonville Community Council, and the Madisonville Business Chamber. And I am sad to say that the winner was the CRC, but running really close behind, I think they were shy of one vote, was the MPERC, the Madisonville Community Council and Business Chamber trio. So it was a close race. So Brian, I guess you were right. You were bringing the game. And it was great to see everybody's pumpkins. Now, I will say, despite some of the hiccups, it was great to see everybody's creation. Obviously, this event will do much better in a non-pandemic environment, but it was great to have some fun community. So thank you guys for all your work and on that last minute endeavor. A quick update on the UMC, the mailboxes here at the library. So just this month, we've given just under 400 mailboxes. So that is about just under 3,000 meals so far this month. So obviously it's a need in the program. So our need here in the community. So we are happy to be serving that need along with some of the other organizations in the community. We also will be partnering with the Cincinnati Metropolitan Housing Authority and providing free books for the community during these meal giveaways. So hopefully we should have them by Monday's meal program, so families can come in and get free books for their families that they can take home and keep. Let's see, next we update. So the library has helped supply some holiday books for Meek's Happy Holiday Box giveaway, which will happen in December. Obviously, the library can't do all the things we would normally do, so we're doing what we can to support our partners here in the community. And last, I want to give you an update. So I don't know if anybody saw our director's blog post. The library is going to be closing the day after Thanksgiving this year. And starting Thursday on Thanksgiving, actually will not open again until Monday. So, which is abnormal. We usually open the day after, really to help mitigate the risk for both staff and families after people are gathering with their families in the holidays. So we also plan to take the same approach in Christmas by closing the day after Christmas on the 26th. And I can send those dates to you, Amanda, if that would help. And also want to use this time to remind everybody to make sure that they're wearing their mask appropriately during their stay at the library. We know it's a pain, and I think we're all experiencing the mask fatigue, but now is, I think, more important than ever to make sure we're wearing the mask, making sure it's covering your nose and your mouth entirely. And that is about it. If anybody has any questions.
Are there any questions for Terry?
No, Nothing online.
Nothing online? Excellent. Well, thank you, Terry.
Okay, thank you guys.
Brian, congratulations. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the sugar skulls at the CRC, I kind of knew we might be having a challenge, but there's going to be other stuff coming up. So Brian, I'm going to basically tell you that we're coming for you, not only for next year's competition, but what's coming up in December. And Joan will share a little bit more about that as well, because everyone loves a little friendly competition. But truly, congratulations to you and the staff. You guys did an excellent job. So thank you for that. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to, there he is, to Mr. Stephen Schuckman, who is here at my request. Hi, Steve. You are on the camera. Steve is part of the Cincinnati Park Board. I asked him here this evening because there have been several conversations swirling around about the Little Duck Creek Trail in terms of what the future of the trail is. There have been some property boundary issues and concerns as well. So I thought it best just to ask Steve here to basically kind of set the record straight, answer any questions for us. And that way everybody in the neighborhood is hearing all the same message. So welcome, Steve.
Great. Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I don't have a presentation per se. The city applied for and got federal funds going back to the 1970s to acquire the land along Little Duck Creek. And the idea always was certainly to preserve the land along the creek, and it's officially the Little Duck Creek Nature Preserve, and to create a walking trail. And so over the years, largely through volunteer labor, and some of you might have been some of those volunteers, a walking trail has been created. Recently, there's also been removal of honeysuckle vegetation clearing, and we're working with Groundworks, and they're coming back to create a small trail in Bramble Park that will go through the woods in the south end of the park and connect up to the Murray Avenue bike trail. So essentially there'll be a new southern entrance to Bramble Park. There'll be a trail, there'll be steps over a small stream, and that'll merge then on the south side of the park. In terms of where the trail is, I know that it's hard sometimes to see where the property lines are, where the park property ends and private property begins. But as far as we can tell, all the places that the trail is currently is on park property. Matter of fact, I walked it again just this week, and it's a great walk. In the future, someday, we'd plan to extend the trail north to Plainville Road. That can't happen until we acquire easements or figure out a way to get from where the park property ends, just short of Plainville, to get all the way out to Plainville. So that's essentially it. If there are any questions, be happy to take them.
I've got a hand raised. Ms. Melissa, you've got a question for Mr. Steve?
Just when you mentioned it was federal funds, when was the last time that this was surveyed? I know there's been a lot of erosion along the bank of the Little Duck Creek. So how was that determined with that erosion where the property lines would be?
Well, the property lines, we know where the property lines are legally speaking. To go out in the field, we would actually have to do a survey, which we haven't done, and stake property lines. I presume a lot of the owners along this stretch of the creek are going to know where their property ends. In terms of creek erosion, we did get a Queen Ohio grant that beginning of next year into the spring, we should be doing some work to restore the creek in Bramble Park, where there has been erosion and it's getting closer and closer to the roadway. The other places, the creek will certainly move over the years. It has, and it will continue to.
Okay. I received an email, and I don't know who all is on the Duck Creek Trail Committee. I don't know everyone. But there was mention of a piece of property that was extensively being rehabbed, and that they were questioning the property lines of an old fence and whatnot. And we own that property. And at first it kind of upset me because I thought we were a community where we could talk to each other. But this letter was sent, and not to you, and please don't get me wrong if you hear a certain tone from me. But the property lines, we did our due diligence and we had our property surveyed. And what we're paying property taxes on, we reclaimed that. It was just sitting there dormant, and it is our property, so we did fence it in. And the survey is down there, was from a reputable surveyor company, and it's now down at the county auditor, Hamilton County Auditor site. We were called flippers and so forth and so on to this residence, but we're multi-generational residents of Madisonville. So it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit that we were deemed that. The property that's next to ours goes back 30 more feet as well, and that trail is goes through that property. So that's why I asked about when was the last time that may have been surveyed.
Yeah, again, I'm not aware that the trail is off our property at any place.
Hello?
I'd be happy to meet you or anyone else at the site, so we're all looking at the same thing.
Sounds like somebody else was trying to ask a question.
This is Jim Burkhardt. I'm with the Cincinnati Park Board also, and I was the one that researched the question that was raised about the property boundaries, and I don't see anywhere where our trail crosses onto private property in that area. And I agree with you 100%. Your property, what you were just doing was reclaiming parts of your property that hadn't been used before. The property behind you is owned by Richter and Phillips.
Right. I'm not talking about the property behind me. We were just reclaiming what we've been paying taxes on for generations.
Absolutely.
So
that's what I thought too. Yep.
But the property beside us, 6333.
Right.
That was the one I had in question.
Our trail, yeah, for the best I've seen, our trail does not go onto that. But we can certainly look at it again.
I appreciate it. Looks like we've got a question from Mr. Capisser. Mr. Capisser, go ahead. Oh, I have to unmute you. I'm sorry. Whoops. Unmute. Mr. Capisser?
I'm still muted.
Nope, we can hear you.
Now you're
Okay.
not.
Okay, Steve, I was glad to hear you say that it was a nature preserve, because I was in my involvement in community council in the 90s. We had petitioned and had that designated as a nature preserve. And the key thing, I don't think a lot of people understand that as a nature preserve in Ohio, you cannot build man-made structures within the nature preserve without getting permission from the park board. And so I'm glad to see that there. When that happened, there was a group of Boy Scouts working on that dug out much of the original trail. And that was pretty much a scout project done by the Boy Scouts here in Madisonville. So that was happening the same time as the park board was designating that as a nature preserve. But I think it's important that everybody understands that it being a nature preserve, that it protects the area from any kind of man-made structure being put within that area. That's all my comment.
And let me say that this is one of these great examples of the trail wouldn't be there but for the community and the community's participation. Our resources are stretched, though I am glad to say that we now have reconstituted a small trail crew. That's the good news. I guess the bad news is we've got about 70 miles of trails in the park system. But that trail actually looks to me to be in pretty good shape, and to me it's a tremendous asset for Madisonville.
Are there any plans to put any further safety measures in place for the trail as it becomes more popular? The reason why I ask this is there have been several incidents in the last year, and of course, Cincinnati Police Department is aware, Cincinnati Fire Department has been aware, where people have gone down on the trail and lit fires and then left them unattended. Unfortunately, we've had a couple of overdoses. There's been people that are constantly actually using the trail and the top parts of the trail actually to shoot BB guns into the woods, which for me is a very real concern, because if you're at the top of a hill shooting a BB gun and somebody is down on that trail walking, you don't see it coming. So I'm just curious, are there any plans to put any additional signage, any other safety precautions in place, just to keep the residents that are using the trail safe?
There have not, and some of the issues you're describing are new to me. They may be new to Jim too. And Jim's the guy who's responsible for, his crews are the ones who are feet on the ground in the park system on the east side of town. So first of all, we'd certainly like to know about any issues, particularly safety issues. Second, hopefully that you're in communication with the police. And besides just making them aware of issues, if there are specific issues in a specific site, in a specific park, we can ask for directed patrol to put more attention on the trail and on the nature preserve.
Excellent.
Yeah, beyond that, if there's certain signs that you'd like to see, just certainly let us know what those messages should be.
Okay. I will have Stephanie Cable-Myers Myers Cable is our Arts and Recs chair. So I will have her address that in her committee meetings, and we'll get you some suggestions for some future signage going forward. That would be outstanding.
Sure, and also I think I'm sort of embarrassed to say that we don't have very many, if any, signs identifying Little Duck Creek Nature Preserve or the trail system. So it is something that I'd want to do at each of the trailheads.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Kate, could I just ask you a question?
Absolutely, yes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Andrew. I work for Citizens of the World charter schools. So Vanity, our executive director, is gonna give an update on our schools in a second. But Steve and Stephanie, to the extent that we're going to be the new tenants of the Bramble building, if there's anything we can do signage-wise, safety-wise, access-wise, helping down at the back of the creek. I think both of you have my email address, and Vanity's going to share her email address as well. So we want to be helpful. So reach out if there's anything we can do.
That's great. I appreciate that, because you're a large part of the trail just north of Bramble Avenue, and we have to figure out a way to sign it and do it in a way that keeps you whole and keeps the trail open. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Looks like we've got a question from Carrie. Did I unmute you? Carrie? Oh,
Yes, thank you. I, as a newer resident of Madisonville, and I moved and my property is adjacent to it as well. But one of the things that I thought was confusing when I first moved here and heard about it is like I couldn't find out more information about the area, because it's not the Little Duck Creek Trail and/or park and this nature preserve. Like none of those things show up in the park board's website or on the city's website or ODNR or any kind of public government agency. And so that kind of also, along with signage, that kind of confused me, because people would tell me that it's a park, but I can't see anywhere online that, or physically in person, that it's a park or a nature preserve or what have you. So that's kind of a question, kind of a feedback of how the park board can maybe advertise that more publicly.
I'm surprised to hear that. We will remedy that. And the state is well aware of it, since the state has given us grants to do the creek restoration that we're about to do, and we've received grants in the past. And certainly part of of our trail system.
Okay. And the same thing goes for Bramble Park, although I think that's the Recreation Commission, I think instead.
Not exactly. It's a little confusing, but it is controlled and managed, most of Bramble Park, by the park board, but it's one of over 30 sites that the Cincinnati Recreation Commission operates and manages. And without going into a long history of that, there wasn't a public recreation commission when the lands were first acquired for parks. So starting in the 1920s, when the Recreation Commission came into existence, a lot of those recreation-oriented sites were then transferred over to CRC once it was created to operate. But any permanent improvements that go on that land are things that CRC and the park board would have to approve.
Awesome.
Add something real quick, Kate.
Absolutely.
Carrie, there is a really active Facebook page for Little Duck Creek. It's called the Little Duck Creek Trail. And I know that a lot of the volunteers of Duck Creek really keep that page up to date. They're posting on it pretty regularly. So if you're on Facebook, check that page out.
Amanda, were there any questions online?
No.
Any other questions here this evening? All right, well, Steve, Jim, I appreciate your time this evening. I will actually, like I said, we'll work on some recommendations for signage from people in the community. Stephanie, who just spoke, I just put that on your plate. So now you have the list of things to do, Steph. Okay. And we'll circle back with you both. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking time out this evening. I know it's late, so thank you for joining us.
It's okay. Bye.
All right, thank you.
All right, I have to find myself. All right, next up this evening, we have the new executive director of the Citizens of the World Cincinnati campus, Ms. Vanity Jenkins. I'm going to go ahead and, there we go. I'm getting good at this left-handed mouse usage.
Thank you, Kate. Is there a way for me to share my screen? If not, it's no big deal.
There is. You should have access to share now. Go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to chat with you all tonight. I wanted to take some time just to share a little bit about myself and also what we're hoping to do with Citizens of the World Charter School. As Kate shared, I am the founding executive director of Citizens of the World. We are a tuition-free public charter school that's slated to open in the fall of 2021. I also want to thank the Madisonville Community Council just for the guidance and recommendations that you all have given us over the last couple of years. I also want to acknowledge one of our board members, Annie, who is here, Kim, who's done a lot of the family engagement with us, and one of my colleagues, Andrew, who you all have likely met throughout the engagement over the last couple of years. I have been in education for over 10 years, and this is a picture of me and the first group of students that I ever taught. I was just elated when so many of them invited me to their graduation a couple of years ago, even though it instantly aged me seeing them drive and walk across the stage when I taught them in 5th grade. Although I started in education over 10 years ago, the first experience that really shaped who I am as an educator started when I was much younger. And it started with my baby brother. So he attended a Christian school from kindergarten to 2nd grade, and then he entered our local public school in 3rd grade. A couple months into the school year, my parents received a letter. And I remember the moment that they opened the letter and started reading it, the air in the room just instantly changed. There was a lot of tension, and they were visibly upset. I remember being very confused at the time because we had gotten letters pretty regularly from school celebrating academic achievements or just generally notifying us about things that were happening at the school. This letter, however, stated that my brother would be moving into a self-contained special education classroom on Monday. That Monday, my parents decided to take him to school and speak with the principal before allowing him to go to his new classroom. They asked the principal to show them some of the tests that my brother had been given that determined that he needed to be in special education. The principal said that they weren't able to provide any copies of the tests, but that my brother needed to go to his new classroom that day. My parents brought with them the state test scores that he had taken at his previous school, where he scored in the top 1% in both reading and math. The principal immediately started apologizing and told my brother that he could go ahead to his regular classroom. That experience taught me a couple of things. One, parents who are comfortable navigating the system and who know how to navigate the system are more equipped to advocate for their children. Two, when students are bored in class, they are often off task, and sometimes they misbehave as well. And three, special education is sometimes used as a tool to separate children. These guiding principles shape who I am as a leader today. I believe that parents are critical to the success of any school. When parents feel welcomed and invited to the school, their students are so much more excited to go there. I also believe that students need interesting, fun, exciting, and engaging materials when they're at school. I love it when kids feel the joy of the classroom all around them. And three, I think it's critically important that we really think about how we service students who learn differently. My grandmother was a special education teacher for 30 years, and my mother is currently still a special education teacher. So hearing them talk about how special education has changed over the last couple of generations has really shaped who I am as a leader. These things brought me to Citizens of the World. As I shared, it's a tuition-free public school that provides access to rigorous engagement for students. The model, we believe in project-based learning, where students are able to ask a lot of questions and have hands-on material while they're at school. We also really believe in social and emotional development. So in addition to academics, we believe that students should learn how to process their emotions, how to share their emotions with one another, and have the time and space to really dig into how they're feeling and how their feelings are impacting them throughout the day. We also believe in a constructivist approach where students are able to ask a lot of questions and learn from one another and with their fellow students. When I think about what I want to be true for my own daughter, it's that she's in a school where she's surrounded by students who are excited to be there, where she has a teacher who's invested in her, and where she can ask the questions that are most important to her and that are really on her mind. That's what I'm hoping to do with Citizens of the World in Cincinnati. I want to build a school where all families feel included, where families feel excited to come to the school, and where students have the opportunity to engage in rigorous, exciting material each and every day. If you'd like more information, you can check out our website, and I'll be able to put that in the chat. You can also email me directly.
She's done. She's finished. You, Kate.
I'm talking and not unmuting myself. I'm sorry to say, I'm just talking away. Got to hit the unmute. Were there any questions for Ms. Jenkins this evening? And if you could, if you don't mind sharing this screenshot, email it to me. We'll make sure that Amanda gets it out there for people if they want to reference it. I'm going to unshare your screen so people can see your lovely face.
Absolutely.
Yes. There we go. I see one hand up. Let's see. I'm not good at scrolling. Miss Jackie? Did I unmute her? Wait. Is it unmuting? Hold on.
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I actually have put my hand up before with the last presenter, but
I'm sorry.
that's okay. I do have a question. Where's your school located?
It's in the old Bramble building.
Oh, okay, great. And how many students do you project starting off with this fall? I saw K through 1, right?
Yes, that's correct. So we're hoping to start with 120 students total in kindergarten and first grade.
Oh, great. There's a need for it out here. That's great. What's the ratio going to be, teacher to student ratio?
It'll be about 1 to 20. We'll also have some interventionists that'll be able to push into classrooms, and our kindergarten classrooms will have assistants as well.
Okay. All right.
I'd just say as well, just on the building. So I imagine the people who've been driving past, you've probably seen a lot of activity over the past few weeks. Just a quick update on the work that is being done on the building. So it had been vacant for about a year since the previous school closed. The main work is removing and replacing the entire roof because the roof was in pretty bad condition. There were a number of leaks across the building. And then around the back of the building at the top level, we've removed the portables that were there because they were in pretty bad condition inside, outside, on top of, and underneath. So that's kind of the main work that's going on at the moment. And we're also looking to be able to potentially open up the rotunda area that's on the corner of Bramble and Homer as soon as possible, and hopefully soon people will be able to come in safely when COVID passes.
Andrew, can you introduce yourself for everyone that doesn't know who you are?
I'm sorry, yeah, I'm Andrew Hodgson, so I work for Citizens of the World Charter Schools. I've had the pleasure pre-COVID of kind of coming out into Madisonville every few weeks for about a year. So I've frequented many of the coffee shops, restaurants, some of the houses as well across Madisonville. But Vanity, I think, is definitely going to be readily available for questions, calls over Zoom. So yeah, I think if you go to the website, it's www.cwccincinnati.org, and we're excited to speak with folks.
Thank you. Looks like we've got a question from Indy Ekanaika, who is our education chair. Go ahead, Indy. Andy? Andy, did you have a question? Looks like he's got some technical difficulties.
Can I ask a question?
You sure can. Is that Miss Stephanie?
It is. Can you see me?
Yep. Go ahead.
Hi, Vanity and Andrew. Thanks for being on here. I just wanted to ask like a super general question. As you know, we've had several charter schools come in and out of that building that haven't been successful. What's different about your charter school that you think is going to be a mainstay, hopefully, in our community, or that will stick around? What are you planning on doing differently than those charter schools to be successful for our community?
Sure, that's a great question. So one, in the work that the organization has done over the last couple of years, we realized that our model is something that families really, really wanted and were excited about. So we focus on being a diverse by design school, which means that we seek to mirror the diversity of the community, which is why we chose to be in Madisonville, because it is such a diverse neighborhood. And so just hearing from so many different parents and families that they wanted a diverse, high-performing school, we knew that our model would be a great match. Two, we are authorized by Fordham, which is just a very, very rigorous process. And part of us being authorized by Fordham means that they are going to hold us to very high standards to make sure that we are adhering to the things that we said that we were going to do in the community. Additionally, we will have a regional board that also manages us as an entity. So they will approve our budget, make sure that we are adhering to the academic goals that we have, and make sure that we are, again, keeping the promises that we've made to the community. And then finally, Citizens really focuses on leadership and making sure that leadership is in a position to run a school successfully. So Citizens schools are in Los Angeles. They're also in Kansas City. In both of those regions, the schools perform in the top 10% of all other schools in those areas. And one of the ways that they are able to do that is by having very, very strong leadership that is really grounded in the model, that's able to develop leadership team members, that's able to offer really strong professional development to teachers. And so we are planning on doing that here in Cincinnati. I'm getting a lot of support and coaching around the school model right now. And I will make sure that the principal, when hired, is also getting that development. The principal will also participate in a year-long institute to really immerse themselves in the leadership model. We're going to have a 3-week training for teachers before school starts to make sure that everyone is aligned and really understands what needs to be true for students. And so there are several layers of accountability that we have to make sure that we are continuing on Citizens' successful models in other areas. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, no problem.
Indy was having technical difficulties, but he wanted to know if you had a target date to start enrollment.
Yes, so we are going to have information about enrollment in December, and it will fully launch in January.
Also, we want to know if there are any updates on the principal search.
Yes, so we have 3 finalists right now for the principal search, and we are hoping to make an offer by the 2nd week of December. We have some really, really great finalists. They are all from Ohio, and we're very excited to engage with them in final interviews the week after Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Amanda, were there any questions online or in the chat or in the Q&A?
We do have, I think we have a question in the chat and a question in the Q&A. So in the Q&A from Carrie, they'd like to know if we have any details or timeline on when hiring staff will begin.
Yep, so like I said, we're in the midst of hiring the principal. We will also be posting a director of operations soon, and then we'll be posting a director of family engagement role. After those roles are hired, we will focus on hiring teachers for the school, and that will launch at the end of February, beginning of March.
Great, thank you.
I'd just say as well, if I could just cut in a big factor for us, and I think this goes to your question, Steph, is board quality. So making sure the local board covers kind of a pretty wide cross-section of backgrounds and talent. So HR, finance, operations, academics. We try and find all of those in one person, but it unfortunately doesn't exist. But just thinking through as well, and I know, Kate, you and I have had these conversations in Indy too. How do we make sure that there's Madisonville representation on that board for a Madisonville school is something that we're really looking at as we do build the board.
Excellent.
And there was just one question that was in the chat from Tess, and I just want to repeat it so that if people are listening on Facebook, they also have the opportunity to know the answer to it. So Tess was just asking, you guys are starting out with K in 1st grade, and does that mean you intend to grow the program and to what age level? And Andrew, you answered in the chat that yes, it would be looking to go K through 6.
Excellent. All right, if there are no other questions, I thank you both for your time this evening, and welcome to Madisonville.
Thank you all so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. All righty. We're going a little bit out of order. I'm going to go ahead and move to the presidential board reports. I have some great news this evening. We've had multiple requests for something to happen at the corner of Plainville and Rowe. Earlier this fall, we got the four-way stop at Plainville and, at Rowe and Wetzel. They have since also striped the white line across, because I know that was a concern for people as well. So that has finally been completed. I was notified yesterday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, that Plainville and Rowe is going to become a four-way stop. They have already put in the work order for that. We should see the four-way stop signs there in the next couple of months. I went ahead and already requested that we get the white line striping as well, since I know that that was highly requested at Rowe and Wetzel previously. So I'm hoping that everybody thinks this is great news as I do, because I know this is something that's been asked for years. They're going to start with the four-way stop at this point in time. They did not justify the traffic light. However, if as we progress with the four-way stop, they'll revisit it and see if we need a traffic light in the future, if we continue to see people running the stoplight, accidents, things of that nature. As with all of our streets in Madisonville, the city of Cincinnati actually has a reporting app. They ask you to report not only accidents that are happening at streets where there are concerns, but near misses as well. And part of the reason why the four-way stop is being approved for Plainville and Rowe is because near misses were recorded, as well as the accidents that have happened. So that's pretty exciting. We will, as we get a closer date for the installation of the four-way stop, we will let you know via social media. So keep your eyes peeled. When those four-way stops occur, please do not run them. Let's keep everybody safe in Madisonville.
Hey, do you know if they're going to add traffic pattern change signs or anything like that when they put those in?
Typically they do the new four-way, there's a four-way stop signage. I can request that from our Vision Zero team to make sure that they put basically as much, that we have as much warning as possible so that we can get the message out there. So we'll start doing that now so that people are looking for it. And then I'll check with Mel to make sure that we can get some early signage as well, as in terms of this is going to be changing soon. Anne, you had a question? Oh, I think I unmuted you.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me? Okay. At one point, I think it was just last month, we were talking about whether the parking of cars needed to move away a little bit from that intersection. Was that study done? Because I had about 2 or 3 near misses there too. I should have reported them. But do you know whether there's going to be any adjustment to parking at that intersection?
They have. It's been discussed. That is not part of this particular four-way stop. What they are going to be working on doing is actually taking a look at the parking close to all of those intersections, basically going from Madison and Plainville all the way down, because that parking issue is not only an issue there at Plainville and Rowe, but it's an issue at almost every other street that's intersecting there on Plainville, because of how the streets are angling. It's actually very hard. The visibility is very hard on almost every single one of those streets. So they're actually going to be having somebody coming out. It might not happen until the spring just because we're so late in the year with the weather, but they're actually going to have somebody come out and actually look at every single one of those intersections and make sure that, because there should be like curb marking, and make sure the signs are where the signs are supposed to be in terms of no parking past this point.
Great.
So
Thanks.
Yes, it's everyone in transportation has been working on this, is aware. It's just a matter of getting someone into the neighborhood to actually look at those and get those marked. And I loved your yay in the chat.
Good. I'm glad you saw that. That was the only feedback I could give.
It is appreciated. It's a long time
coming.
Yay.
Yes, but thank you for persevering and getting it done. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I was going to address the graffiti. I think Captain Jones did an outstanding job of addressing the graffiti that's in the neighborhood. I have a 6-year-old that thinks the bees are adorable. As an adult, I understand what that means and how quickly it can escalate, and what that means for a neighborhood as a whole. So again, if you see something, say something. There's been, unfortunately, I know Vanity and Andrew can attest to it, the bees were painted on the dumpsters outside of the school. If it's not addressed, at what point do they start painting on the side of the school? The bees were painted on the side of the porta potty at the park, as well as other areas in the neighborhood. You know, it's cute and it's great until it's the side of your house. And we should be looking at Madisonville as it's all the side of our house. So just keep that in mind. If you know who it is, send me a private message. You know, Alicia Demkirk and I talked about it. We'd love to engage the person in some structured, actual, thought out art planning. There's really cool ways to do graffiti walls and things in neighborhoods that are officially sanctioned and don't get painted over by the city. So I will leave that at that. Parking update. So as I mentioned last month, they are currently working on the parking study for the Madisonville Business District there at Madison and Wetzel. You may have noticed some signage that was put up that has the Madisonville logo on it at the Madisonville Retail Center parking lot, at the parking lot across from Artsville, that has parking 4-hour time limits on them. We have actually had discussions with the company that's currently taking care of the management of those. Those are actually not managed by the community council. I actually had several calls about those signs, yelling at me because I put 4-hour time limits on it. I didn't put 4-hour time limits on it. So if you have questions or concerns about the parking lots, whether it's maintenance issues, if your car unfortunately gets towed, Ackerman is actually the entity that is actually managing those parking lots. They're actually going to be here next month for their update in December. So hold your questions until then. And we will circle back, but I did want to make sure that everyone was aware of that. I see Amanda just put in the thing, we have a few questions about the traffic update. Amanda, what you got?
Yeah, sorry. You know, when you bring up the traffic stuff, everybody's got a thing. So it's great. It's awesome engagement. So we had a question. I'm going to go to Facebook, and there is a little bit of a delay on Facebook from when we are talking here to when they see it. So we may have answered it during this, but I just want to recognize it in this meeting. Sophia had asked if it was possible to be a traffic circle, and I believe she's referring, Kate, to when you were updating about Plainville and Rowe. You kind of talked about why that wasn't going to be a traffic light, so maybe that is the same answer to why it might not be a traffic circle.
The traffic circle has come up in a couple of different suggested places. One was at Plainville and Rowe. One was at Madison and Camargo. The city has not made any mention of turning anything into a traffic circle. I always think of traffic circles, I think of vacation towns for some odd reason. Also the one that is now up by Summit Park in Blue Ash. It's something that I can make mention to the Vision Zero team. I honestly do not know the city's official stance on traffic circles. I'm trying to think of where there's actually a traffic circle in the city of Cincinnati, which may actually answer that question. But we can certainly ask that question if the four-way stop and moving the cars back from those intersections doesn't work.
Great. And then just three more.
Leslie,
I know. Leslie out on Facebook just wonders if it's possible to readdress the curb at Madison and northbound Wetzel that extends itself in the right lane. I don't know what that is, so I'm hoping you do.
That's the curb, and this Leslie, I'm guessing that's the curb that everybody keeps jumping because that turn is so sharp. And I think I've seen it specifically with truck traffic. I don't know that it has, I personally have not addressed it. I don't know that it's been addressed with all the construction that's going on. I can certainly mention it to DOTE. I know I've seen a couple of trucks that have actually gone over that curb because that turn is so sharp. But
that's the new curb, right? Right there.
That's the one that just got a couple months ago.
I think we have the same issue at Erie and Bramble. Maybe less of a sharp turn, but I see tire marks all over that. I think that might be the purpose of it, but it's a little scary.
That one,
Not gonna lie.
Typically, the
Those are
bump
my
outs,
tire marks, Amanda. Those are my tire marks.
Those are, of course, Stephanie.
typically
Just whipping around.
bump outs are there as a traffic calming to curb speed. I know with the one at Erie and Bramble, yeah, it sticks out, and when you see the tire marks, you think about the fact that somebody actually might be standing there one day. But
yeah.
And Alicia just brought up a very good point. The lane actually dead ends into the bump out, and they need to address the lane, and that is a very good point. When I go back and watch this later, because I'm trying to make notes with my left hand, I will circle with DOTE for that, because I think that was something, in theory, it made a lot of sense, especially with the potential increase in pedestrian traffic there at Madison and Wetzel. Even with Erie, it's that section is, you see a lot of people out walking and walking dogs and riding bikes. But like with Madison, specifically with Madison and Wetzel, I don't think there was thought put into, and again, this is just my perspective, the fact that trucks will actually turn down when they realize they're going to get the top of their truck ripped off at the other train bridge. They will purposely take that turn at Madison and Wetzel to avoid the train bridge. Because it's such a sharp turn, you're seeing the tire marks going over. Carrie actually had a great suggestion I saw for Madison and Wetzel is to move the Wetzel stop back, so turning vehicles have more room to turn onto Wetzel. I would agree, Carrie. You said there were 3 questions, Amanda. Did I answer all 3 or try?
It doesn't. So just really quickly, I would answer this. I'm just not really sure. Carrie would just like to know what the app is that we should use to report near misses and crashes. Kate, if you don't know, I can follow up and do some research on that.
I've got it buried in my email and on my other phone. Carrie, what I will do is I will send the link to Amanda to post on the tail end of not only this meeting, but I'll actually have her do a post as well so we can get that information out there.
Perfect. Okay, and then last question I see here is, well, maybe it's not a question. I'm sorry. At what point will the city continue to look at the Wetzel and Chandler for this side of Madisonville?
Wetzel and Chandler, that was Miss Tony, I bet.
Yes.
Wetzel and Chandler is the next one on my list, Miss Tony, in terms of that safety piece. That's the one we've also pinpointed for a 4-way, not only a 4-way stop, but again, also the 4-way striping, because there is a lot of foot traffic. That's considered one of the routes to schools. So we can definitely press that with Vision Zero. When I had my lengthy conversation, Mel McVeigh with Department of Transportation and Engineering, and I have been working through a list of concerns and trying to get these addressed. Through the pandemic, when nobody's in the office, and at one point the city was on furlough, trying to get these addressed since a year ago, April. So we're working through the list. That is one of the next ones on the list that we want to get addressed. So as soon as I have more information, Ms. Tony, I'm hoping we can get that one done by the spring. It's one thing the city doesn't have a shortage of is stop signs. They just got to make sure that we can justify them and then get them in the ground. There is a roundabout circle in North Avondale on Dana. I forgot about that one. In case anybody's wondering, that was actually a comment from Miss Linda on Facebook in terms of roundabouts in the city. That actually is the only one that I know of. Any other questions, Amanda?
I think that just about does it.
Okay. The last thing I had from my report this evening was a bit of correspondence that we received from Pastor Booker and Praise Temple in regards to some sidewalk concerns for the building, as well as a couple other things. Specifically, I believe, Amanda, did you have that posted out there?
I'm sorry, what was that?
The correspondence from Pastor Booker was sent to the city.
Is that something different than what we had, I think maybe 2 meetings ago?
Yes.
I do not have that out there. I'm sorry.
I thought I sent that to you. I
It's
apologize.
sitting.
I will get that out there. There's also a response from Ackerman Group as well. The reason why I'm bringing it up specifically is there's this issue with the sidewalk where they had window wells on the street, and those window wells were actually poured over. And sidewalk is the city's jurisdiction. Transportation engineering, unfortunately, did not reach out to find out the use of the windows prior to doing that. It's the city's policy now to fill in window wells. They were not aware that it actually was an egress issue for Praise Temple because their kitchen is in the basement. We are potentially looking at having to have the city actually dig up all of that sidewalk to replace it, to redo the window wells, which would require reinforcement structurally. And as we've heard so many times before, when it comes to city requests, there's tons of projects and never enough money. I'm waiting actually to get some more information from economic development. There is the potential that we may have to put a motion on the table to use TIF funds to get this project resolved. But I will keep everybody posted, but I did just want to bring that to everyone's attention. I will have Amanda post that correspondence after the meeting this evening and get that out there for everyone. And that is all that I had. If there are no other questions for me, we are going to go ahead and approve the treasurer's report as presented. This is Joan's last meeting as treasurer, unofficially, officially. And Ms. Susan will be taking over. We're excited to have Ms. Susan officially on board. So if there are no amendments or suggestions, we'll approve the treasurer's report as presented. And then we will move on to committee reports. We don't have a lot this evening. Joan does have beautification.
I do. Yeah, I have a couple things for communication. Hi, everybody. Number one, I wanted to let you all know that even with COVID, we were able to put in 28 trees this year in the Taking Root program. Alan Edwards and his team at Groundworks were the ones who actually planted the trees this year. Normally we work with Seven Hills students, but because of school and COVID, they could not help us this year. So thank you so much to Alan Edwards and his team at Groundworks for getting those 28 trees in the ground. We also, the city gave us the pansies that they would have put in the planters, the city planters along Madison Road. They gave them to us because they were already under contract, so they had to go ahead and purchase them. Beautification Committee has planted all those pansies up and down Madison Road so that we get a little bit of color this fall. Not quite as nice as we usually do, and we are trying to continue to water, although our interest and energy level has really dropped down after watering all summer. But it is nice to have a little bit of color in those planters. Let's see. The last thing is something kind of exciting. Generally, the first Saturday in December is usually the date that Madisonville holds its Winterfest. And for those of you who are new, we generally used to decorate the very large tree that is no longer there at the corner of Madison and Wetzel. MYCC kids would dole out hot cocoa and hot chocolate and help with the kids make s'mores. We would have a couple of different little bonfires together. Santa would usually come up on his bike. And it was really a nice time. Even when there was 6 inches of snow on the ground, it was really fun. This year, because of COVID and because we have no central tree, although we could move to another part of Madisonville to find a tree, we have decided instead that we're going to jingle without the mingle. Now that's the phrase that I just stole from Cincinnati Tool Bank, which I thought was hilarious. Jingle without the mingle. What we're going to do is ask the Beautification Committee and individuals if they will decorate a tree in certain public areas or at their homes, and we'd have all those trees decorated by December 5th. So the little parks, the one that's on Rose Street, the one at Kenwood, the one at Hawk Park at the dead end of Indian Hill Road, maybe the Murray Triangle. Hopefully the beautification members and anybody who would love to join us will decorate the trees there. We'll use solar lights so we don't have to deal with electricity. And at least then we'll have a little sparkle of Christmas, or of the holiday season, I should say, all around the neighborhood, and people can drive through. We talked about possibly making that a contest, and I believe we may be doing that. Amanda, I think you were going to maybe coordinate the contest part of it to see which decorations win the prize. I'll be getting together with Amanda the next few days, and we'll get something posted out there on social media. Anybody who is interested in decorating their own tree or a neighborhood tree, you can let myself know, you can let Amanda know, and we'll have a little cheer by December 5th around the neighborhood. I do think having a little cheer would really help. I know that I'm experiencing the doldrums from all of this lockdown that we're having. I think all of you are too. And even though we can't share together, we can drive around and be proud of our neighborhood, because Madisonville is such a unique and wonderful neighborhood. So it'd be really nice if we can celebrate the love of our neighborhood by driving around. So just see me or Amanda if you have any questions or have any input, and you'll hear more about this later.
All right, thanks, Joan.
You're welcome.
Let's see, Indy, let me switch you over.
Okay, I think I figured it out. I'm here now. Sorry. Education, we've been working on a couple of different things in collaboration with different committees. I think right now what I've been trying really hard to focus on is just identifying gaps and figuring out what are the best possible ways we can support with getting more people involved in supporting young people throughout our community. So I'm sure that we'll hear some updates about some of those projects. So really briefly, the one thing that I did want to call out, and Ms. Knox mentioned this a bit, but we have multiple schools in Madisonville, and specifically considering CPS, John P. Parker, Schroeder High School, and Lighthouse Community School. Given the switch to virtual learning, there are so many needs for students to have face time with adults. One thing that I think often becomes a barrier for supporting with high school in particular is a fear related to content knowledge. You know, like finding a math tutor is like finding the treasure at the end of a rainbow. But one thing that Ms. Wilder actually and I have been talking about is the fact that a lot of times the students who are in need of support aren't necessarily needing support for AP Calculus. Very, very confident that you as adults are able to support with the skills that you have. And sometimes that's even just young people needing essentially an accountability partner and someone who's sort of on their side, but not someone who's going to get them in trouble for not getting something done. Really just like someone to listen, to support, and maybe to help out with that occasional math or English question, problem, homework assignment. And the difference that you can make in even an hour a week or an hour every other week or more if you're able to, but that difference in that small amount of time is tremendous. And I think anybody here who works with young people in any capacity would say that. I also think educators, I see Tess nodding, I appreciate the affirmation and know that our educators are working so hard to meet the needs of their students that any help that they can get is helpful too. So with all that said, if you have even an hour a week that you're willing and able to essentially donate in support of young people, the easiest way to coordinate that is actually just to contact me, and then we can figure out what you can support with, what you're comfortable with doing. I actually have put out this call in a couple different places, and because it's virtual, one of the benefits we have is you don't even necessarily have to live in Cincinnati. You don't have to show up to a school. You can do this from anywhere, in any place, without any physical contact in order to stay safe from a public health perspective as well. So I'll just throw my email in the chat here. And if you're on Facebook, education@ourmadisonville.com. Please reach out and let's figure out what we can do in order to support students in our neighborhood. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Indy. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Tess with housing. Tess, you're up.
Hello, thank you. Yeah, so one of the projects Indy was referring to, he and I met about last week. We are looking to do a project that for now is being called Paint the Streets. I had just this, driving around and seeing all the political signs in everybody's yard, wanting to see something more positive in our yards in Madisonville. So I wanted to come up with a sign to celebrate Madisonville being a community for all. So we are selling these signs. I think there's one. All are welcome Madisonville signs. They are $10, so it's a $5 cost and a $5 donation. And those donations are being gathered to put together a community art project. We are looking to engage with students from our local schools, connect with Madisonville artists, and to pull in neighbors throughout the entire community to be part of this. So this is very early on in the stages, and Indy and I just kind of met the other week just to kind of put together a basic outline, and our community partners like Artsville and MKirk are going to be hearing and begging us to come to the table and be involved in this project. Our kind of overall idea is putting it out to art teachers at our local schools in the neighborhood to have kids design ideas for painting intersections throughout the neighborhood. We're going to be looking to do this to serve as like a traffic calming and also a beautification. And so students will help generate ideas. We're going to pair them with local artists from the community, and then hope come summertime, we'll be ready to get the entire community involved to help actually put the paint on the ground. And so we're pretty excited about this, but again, we're really early on in the planning stages. So this, I also am really excited about this because it's kind of involving everybody. We will have arts and rec, safety and transportation, education, housing, as well as our youth council involved. We are hoping to be able to employ some of our youth to act as project coordinator interns for each of the different sites. I think our goal right now is to hopefully, with selling all of our yard signs and with some donations from other community partners, to be able to paint, our goal is to look to paint 5 different intersections. And we will be working with Amanda to put out some polls on our Facebook, looking for suggestions from the community on what those intersections should be. And those intersections do have to be, I think they have to have less traffic than 3,000 cars per day. But we'll be getting some more information from working with the Department of Transportation with the city as well. So that's kind of the basics. So also, like, if you're the person painting the bees, reach out. Let's have you be that artist connection to work with the student to design the bees. I am actually a CPS art teacher, and I've been doing a mural project and trying to teach my students the difference between graffiti and public art is simply permission. So come and work with us, and we'll give you permission and give you a space to put your bees to work in our neighborhood, because I know they're beloved by many. So that's kind of the basics about the project. We're looking for community input. We'll be engaging our community partners within the next month, and the month after we'll be looking for the public to help pitch in. So if you are a Madisonville resident or someone outside Madisonville who thinks this project sounds fun and wants to be involved, we want to have you involved. You can send an email to me at housing@ourmadisonville.com just to express your interest, and Indy and I will loop you in, hopefully in a January meeting. We're hoping to pull our community partners into a meeting in December and keep the ball rolling. So hope that once we get over a COVID hump come summertime, we can socially distance and start putting some things on the ground. So if you want to support our project and support some positivity in Madisonville, please go to ourmadisonville.com and you can purchase a sign. I have a batch of signs put together for Kate and I to start delivering to more addresses throughout the neighborhood. So that's kind of our basic project we're really focused on right now, and I'm really excited about it. I hope you are too. But second to that, I need to ask for a motion. I'm looking to approve an expenditure of about $200. It's going to help us with ordering some more senior housing marketing supplies. We need to create a resource page for senior housing in Madisonville and to spread the word on Madison senior housing resources. So we're looking for about $200 to help with that.
There is yes, I unmuted myself. There is a motion on the floor. Is there anybody that would like to second? If you're one of the attendees, you can just do the, thank you, Amanda, for motioning a second. I'm gonna go ahead and put I gotta find it first. Put a poll in the chat. I'm going to kick a couple people that were panelists out so they can vote. We learned the hard way that if you're a panelist, you can't vote. Or you can just message me. The poll is a vote, excuse me, let me go ahead and read it so that everybody can see it. Motion to support the purchase of swag of up to $200 for the senior housing toolkit. Gotcha, Stephanie.
Also, as we're doing that, I did see a question from Ann Bolin asking, when appropriate to be asked, what can we do about investors attaching cash for houses signs all over Madisonville? And it's my understanding that anything attached to a phone pole is put there illegally, and we are more than welcome to tear them down. And I will look to Captain Jones to ask more specifically about if there's additional things that can be done, but I do think it's in our right to pull those down whenever we see them. I don't know if that totally answers your question, but.
I take them down every time I see them on telephone poles. They're not supposed to be there. All right, while we're doing that, while we're letting that poll finish up, I'm going to go ahead and Miss Tony. Let me unmute you. Miss Tony? Maybe I unmuted her. Miss Tony? Is it me? Let me just, Miss Tony, if you can hear me, I just promoted you to a panelist. And I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. I'm going to share the results. The official was 11 for, 0 against, and 0 abstaining. Stephanie and Tess also voted because they're unable to vote as panelists, they also voted yes. So that makes the official total 13 for. I was trying to get Miss Tony on because she had some updates and I don't think she can hear us or we can't hear her. Technical difficulties today are running rampant. We'll circle back. Miss Tony, I'll hit you up offline and see if we can get you fixed and squared away. The only other announcement I had this evening was in terms of crime and safety. Miss Wendy was unable to join us this evening. If you are not aware, the first week in November, our very own crime and safety chair, Ms. Wendy Cross, I don't know why I'm showing Tess right now. Sorry, Tess. If I were smart, I would have shown Miss Wendy's picture because she was unable to be here. Wendy Cross was voted in as a judge So what that means for Madisonville is that we are extremely happy to support her in her future endeavors. Unfortunately, she will no longer be able to serve as our crime and safety chair. So that will be an open position. We absolutely wish her best. She's actually very excited because it allows her to work in some other avenues with the community. So I know she talked to Ms. Tanks and is going to be lending her efforts to our youth community council as well. While we will miss her in the crime and safety position, we look forward to seeing her about town, and we wish her the best in her new role with the community. And with that, I'm going to turn over to agency announcements. Ms. Kathy, you are up for Artsville.
Good evening, everybody. Kate, I'm going to do 3 of them here, and we'll get them all out of the way. Terry Hayden is not available this evening to do the business chamber, so I'm going to do that one as well, and I'll do that one first. She wanted everybody to kind of know that the membership for the business chamber has increased in 2020 by 39%. So we're all excited about that. We've got more and more businesses who are joining the chamber and who are finding some value in becoming a part of that organization. So we're happy about that. They're also currently finalizing their OGSM. For those that don't know, that's an objectives, goals, strategies, and measures of work. And for 2021 and 22, we're putting together some business owners in place to kind of drive the strategies that we're working on. So that will all come to fruition here in the next few months. We wanted everybody to know that Sierra Bickle, who is also the vice chair and the sales director for Holiday Inn, recently had her little boy. They both seem to be doing well, and so congratulations to her. And there will not be a business meeting in December. So that's the business chamber update. On Artsville, we are partnering with Weed and Seed, and we will be passing out on December 12th from noon to 4, 200 holiday gift boxes, and those are for kids. We cannot do, as Kate knows, the stockings with Santa and some of the other holiday celebration. So we're working on putting together a box that we think we can hand out to kids that they can do some holiday stuff there at home and still enjoy. So that will be on December the 12th. We're partnering with a number of the businesses and organizations here in the community. If you'd like any information, please give me a call or email me directly. We are also, because of the COVID, people cannot get out of their homes, and we were not able to do 2 of the drug take backs from that Weed and Seed would normally do in a year's period of time. And so we will be offering, and we still furnish to anyone interested, the doTERRA drug bags, where you can actually just take your old over-the-counter drugs or out-of-date drugs and place them in the bag with a little bit of water, zip that back up, shake it up, and it disposes of the drugs themselves. So if you know of anybody who needs those, please let me know. We do have those available. So we will be doing that. Also, Artsville is partnering with, we did partner with MCirc to write a small grant through ArtsWave. And we are going to be looking at a space for revitalization or refurbishing there at right at the end of Barnes Barbershop, the little park area there. We've gotten some funding for some work to be done there in terms of art. So we're looking at what we can do there with some couple of the local artists, but also refurbishing by putting in maybe some new tables and things. So you'll hear more about that a little bit later as we move forward with that grant. We are also working with the No Theater to do some virtual work, and also with Playhouse in the Park. So as all of that comes to a little bit more fruition, we will also let you know about those things. So we are staying busy at Artsville and with Weed and Seed. If you know of any needy families, we are working with a particular donor who wants to provide some Thanksgiving meals. So if you know of a family who happens to need one, please let me know again, and I will share that information. So I think that's all I've got. I think I've covered everything.
There are a couple of questions for you. Amanda, you said there's questions for Business Chamber and for Artsville.
Okay.
Yes, so Sophia on Facebook would like to know if Artsville needs any volunteers for the boxes, Kathy?
We can always use volunteers. Absolutely.
Okay. And I think I have your contact, so I'll make sure to write that in the meeting chat and then on Facebook to let them know how to get in touch. And then for the Business Chamber, Anne was just wondering if we had a list somewhere online of the businesses in Madisonville, or at least the businesses, I think that she means, that are in the chamber, if we know of anything like that.
I thought there was a list out on the chamber site. I can double check that, but I think if you go to the Business Chamber website, if it's not there, we'll make sure that it gets there.
Perfect. If there are no other questions, thank you, Kathy, for all three updates. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bryan with the CRC. Are you showing off your pumpkins, really? Is this how you want to play?
No, there's no pumpkins. Instead, I got this wonderful flag.
Fabulous flag.
You see that flag? We replaced our flag yesterday for our American flag at Flags USA up in Oakley, and I was looking, and right when at the checkout they had this flag sitting here, and I was thinking, that's a really cool flag. Wouldn't that look nice hanging in our window? And sure enough, it's Madisonville's Gaines flag.
It was part of the flag project 2 years ago.
Yes. Yeah. So I thought that was a really nice find for us. I'm standing outside in our foyer, so I don't have to wear my mask, because we are closing up and I still have staff here. Like everywhere else in America, if you're at the rec center, you have to wear a mask the whole time. Like everything else. With the schools going back to virtual, we are going to have availability for kids to use our facility. In the school day enrichment, we currently have 30 kids in that program. We capped it out at 30, so we have enough staff to help them get online and everything. We had upgrades. Optics came out and upgraded our Wi-Fi, and now we can get Wi-Fi all throughout the perimeter of the building, even at the pool. It's Optics, so it's good Wi-Fi. So that's nice. Currently, we are doing a diaper drop. There's the cool sign. We are trying to collect 250 diapers, which is next to nothing, but we need it by Monday. So we're doing some big diaper, it's called Sweet Cheeks diaper donation. It's something CRC is doing just for November, just to be kind of give thanks and help out and give back to the community. We're giving, those diapers will be donated to people, needy families and so forth. We did win the pumpkin thing. That was great. I just found out the other day, even though I kind of knew we were going to. And I welcome all challengers for the Christmas stuff, where if you thought we went over the top, we haven't even started yet. No, no, I thought all of them were great.
We lost your video.
Oh, you know why? Because I've been on this meeting so long, my battery's dying on my cell phone. Is it back on?
I thought it was because the universe knew that you weren't going to win the tree contest.
They might have thought I was full of beans. Yes, it's fun. So we'll donate some sort of thing. and make it awesome. I mean, do some sort of thing and make it awesome. We were very fortunate this week. We got a donation of a antique pool table. Some lady called, and she doesn't want to be named, so I won't name her, but Mike and I went and picked it up, put it in the back of my truck, and brought it here. It's still in pieces, but when we open back up for stuff like pool, the seniors in the community that shoot pool here on a regular basis will have a nice antique pool table, very nice antique pool table. And then someone got upset with their 3 children and brought a bunch of their toys to the center and donated a bunch of toys. They filled the back of my truck bed. My kids are not happy about it, but they are spoiled and they need to get rid of stuff. So we did have that. We are not taking toys. We have plenty. I was told to stop bringing my kids' old toys to the center. But we are very thankful for the pool table and everything else. Everything here is safe, and we've not had to close down. I'm going to knock on some wood real quick. We've not had to close down for COVID. Don't plan on it. We keep this building clean, cleaner than it's ever been since the day it opened, and we keep everything safe for everybody, and we love to see everybody here. And that's it.
All right. Thanks, Brian. We appreciate it.
Yes. Have a good one.
You too. All right, Miss Alicia with MKirk, you are up for your update, and then TJ, you're up after that.
All right. Good evening, everybody. One of these days I'm going to do a Robin Williams, like Good Morning Vietnam, but it's going to be like a Good Evening Madisonville, but not tonight. So, you know, I think it's great that CRC has to be real smug about their awesome win because their pumpkins were pretty cool. So good job, guys. We'll come for you next year. That leads into, you know, like everybody's talking about the contest because MKirk just has to like outdo the contest. We're going to win at having a contest. We are still encouraging all of our businesses, please decorate your storefronts. All we're saying is just try to incorporate Madisonville colors. As it turns out, we had some folks posting online, they didn't know we had Madisonville colors. So the fancy M you see everywhere with like the teal and the blue and the purple and the red, that's the Madisonville colors. You do not need to be an overachiever, Brian Henning with Ackerman Group called and actually got the color Pantone and the style guide. We're not asking you to do that, though we appreciate that. The enthusiasm was well appreciated. Just do your best to eyeball it. We're going to be decorating the front of the Mets house for part of this. We will not be accepting any votes, despite how wonderful you're going to think our building looks. But please let us know if you're going to be participating. All we ask is that you let us know by December 5th. December 5th, we are going to open up voting. There will be a way for all the people in the community to vote on their favorite stores. I think we're going to have a couple of different, you know, like which one you think is the cutest, which one's the best overall, whatever. And we're going to have some baskets that we are going to be visiting all the stores that we can get to in Madisonville and trying to buy up stuff to fill up these baskets. So we're supporting our local businesses, and then a local business or 2 or maybe 3 will be getting these baskets. Please sign up. We don't have too many people who've signed up yet, but I think more people are going to be participating, but please let us know so we can get you in the poll. The judging will take place until the 14th. The 14th will announce the winners, and then on the 18th, that Friday, we will deliver you all your goodies and be out and about. Part of the reason we're doing this is to support our small businesses. By participating, it gives us a really good reason to be marketing your business for you. So you're going to have a bigger reach. We're going to take pictures, go out and film. We're going to make sure that we're highlighting every single business that participates. And no, you do not have to be a business in the business district. You simply have to be a business within the neighborhood, the Madisonville neighborhood. So please participate. We want you to participate. This year we can't have an open house because like everybody else, COVID has just sucked out the fun, right? So last year the open house was supposed to do a couple things. It was to get you into the Mets house, let you see what it looked like on the inside, help you get to know us a little better, and also, most importantly, help us know what you felt like worked and what didn't work the year prior, and what you really hope and kind of vision seeing this coming year. MKirk's board just went through a really awesome strategic planning process. They have a draft of the plan. I think we're going to be adopting that hopefully here very soon. With that, we are looking at our future, and it's prime time for us to get your feedback. So this year, we're going to put out the survey online. It'll be tomorrow in our newsletter. It'll also be on Facebook. We're asking you just take a few minutes. We're going to pull keywords out of it, and in December, we'll share the results. But we're just asking you what you liked, what you didn't last year, you know, what you want to see in the future. Get specific, have fun with it. make it a visioning quest, like you can go overboard. That's cool because we can still pull something from that, and that really helps us kind of get direction on where we need to go. Let's see, tomorrow the newsletter does come out. There's going to be a couple different pieces of information in there. The Senior Resource Toolkit, very delayed because we are short-staffed. COVID is crazy and the world has been turned on its head, but the Senior Resource Toolkit is coming. Thank you to the Community Council for what they're going to do to help support that. I think you guys just voted on that, so that's awesome. We have a sponsor this year, 55 North, formerly the Hyde Park Senior Center. They are sponsoring this project. You know, we've got some great folks in the community, like Ann Bolin kind of stepped up and helped put me in touch with some people that I can talk to make sure we're getting these toolkits out to every single senior in our community. And by toolkit, I don't mean like an actual like toolkit. I said this to my mom and she was like, oh, you're giving out hammers? We're not giving out hammers. We're giving out bags with a list of resources and pamphlets, and hopefully we got some cool like goodies in there. You know, everybody likes those fancy ink pens. From there, let's see, we are working on expressing gratitude this month. We are super grateful for the Madisonville community. We appreciate the fact that you let the MCRC board and staff serve you. And we are trying to learn from what we've done, what we need to do. We're coming up with plans, and we want to make sure that we're, you know, just here to enhance what's already here in Madisonville and what we already know is true, which is that you guys are awesome. So please check out our Facebook page because we are trying to thank all of our community partners that we've worked with, and we're trying to highlight all the cool stuff happening in Madisonville. The Mets House just won an award from the Cincinnati Preservation Association. So go Mets House. I had nothing to do with that. I just got to show up. I was hired and I got to walk into the Mets House and enjoy all of its awesomeness. It's a really beautiful building. We have a video up on Facebook. We encourage you to look at that. The video was put together a couple weeks ago. We kind of did it on the fly, but I think it's getting the point across about what community collaboration can lead to and what kind of projects you can make happen. With the theme of checking Facebook, we are trying to provide all the updates on the Madison and Wetzel streetscape. The project Ackerman Group is sending us their schedules. We're trying to keep you updated and let you know when stuff's going to happen. Every now and then we miss something happens, it's unexpected over the weekend, and it's like a Monday before we can get to it, and it happened on a Saturday morning. But we're trying to keep you updated to make sure you're checking that. With that, I'm going to open it up for questions. So anything you suggestions, ideas, comments?
Easiest Q&A ever. Amanda, are there any questions for her in the chat or in the on Facebook? No?
There are not. Nope.
Well then, happy Thanksgiving from MCRC, and make sure you fill out that survey. We want to know what you're thinking.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Ms. Alicia. With that, I'm going to turn it over to TJ with Meek. Welcome, TJ.
Welcome. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well and getting ready for the holidays coming up. Just your monthly announcements from Madisonville Education Assistance Center, also known as MEAC, MEAC. Our Thanksgiving distribution boxes is happening this Tuesday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. on November 24th. While supplies last, first come, first serve. Once again, you must be in our VESTA database to be able to accept Thanksgiving box. Be one of our four servicing zip codes: 45226, 227, 208, and 209. Once again, Thanksgiving distribution is happening this Tuesday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. At Meek's location, 4600 Erie Avenue. And our other upcoming distribution days are December 1st and the 15th. Those will be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The first and second Tuesday of each month. But even more, we have our Happy Holiday distribution coming up December 17th, which is a Thursday, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And we do have a flyer for more ways for other neighbors to get involved. We're just accepting donations. In the past, we normally have give our neighbors a dignity of choice to come and shop within our building. Unfortunately, COVID has made this year very challenging for everyone. So unfortunately, we're not allowed to have anyone in our building. So all the neighbors will be receiving a Happy Holiday a universal distribution box as well. And once again, for them as well, they'd have to sign up through VESTA, like electronic database. Once again, we're not allowing neighbors into into our building. So you must call our number, which is 513-271-5501. And a team member would definitely contact, will reach out and set up an appointment with you all if interested. And other than that, that's all the announcements from me. Thank you for having me, and I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Thanks, TJ. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. I'm going to circle back real quick to Miss Alicia. Somebody actually threw a question out there. Amanda, do you have the question?
Yeah, so just a question in our Q&A anonymously. How does someone get on the MCIRC board?
All right. Well, originally I planned to address this tonight, and then I think the board is taking a little more time this year with their nominations for the slate of board members they're looking for. I think that we have like 3 openings right now, and I think we have a board member that is like terming off because they've done their max term. So I think we're gonna have 3 to 4 people that they can potentially pick up. They don't have to have that many. So how this has worked in the past and how it works on most boards is just express your interest. I would suggest sending me a resume. We have an application that I'll send you. If you send me a resume, I'll send you the application to fill out. There's a nominating committee, and the nominating committee will review the different applicants and make their selections, and the board votes and chooses. If I did not answer that fully, please let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see the post from Vanessa's question, but I don't know what she means.
I'm wondering if it's the house on Madison. It's the only one I can think of.
Tap Vanessa in 12 minutes ago at Stewart and Madisonville. At Madison and Stewart, are you talking about the Horsemeyer estate? I'm guessing that's being turned into a clubhouse. Vanessa, if you're watching, inbox me. I'm not sure what, I think that's the house you're talking about is the PLK development at Madison and Stewart. But without knowing specifically what you're talking about, just shoot us a message for some clarification so I can probably better answer that for you. Oh, you can, sorry, Alicia, I'm over here just, yes, are you?
I apologize. So I think I'm reading the question Amanda wrote. Is this correct? The one that says about, is this the location that Kathy mentioned about artwork? Is that what you're referring to, Kate?
No,
I thought they were, but I think they are talking. I thought they were asking that question based on the timing of the question when it came in, but I actually think, Kate, I think you're right. I think they might be referring to the PLK development.
Never mind, Kate, take it away.
Yeah. So yeah, let me go back. All right, so if there's no old business to bring before the body, we didn't have anything old business come up. We're gonna go ahead and go to new business. The only thing we had this evening were the MSP recommendations. This year, every year the city has the neighborhood support program, which gives the opportunity for all of the community councils in the city of Cincinnati to apply for NSP funds. This year, the amount is $7,987. This is actually almost an $800 difference from last year. So the funds have increased. We have, as a board, we have made the following recommendations. There are other opportunities to put additional recommendations on the table as a community. What the board is recommending is $3,000 to go for communications, both for the newsletter that's been revitalized as well as any other mailings. We've talked about potentially doing some mailings to address potentially adding sidewalks and curbs throughout Madisonville, which requires every neighbor to sign off. So covering the cost of some of those mailings. The youth employment program, which we've been doing every year for, I think, since NSP's been around, doing an additional $2,000 to go to that. Ms. Tody, Indy, Tess Stephanie, we've talked about some really creative ways to get our kids engaged outside of some of the traditional projects that they've been doing. So looking at employing our youth to do some internships, not just in the summertime, but throughout the year. Arts and Recs programming throughout the year, which would include paint the streets, would include Tuesdays in the Park, providing that we're allowed to come back and actually be around more than 8 people at a time next summer. Pocket park signage was something that is a little bit new this year. We've got 3 wonderful pocket parks, kind of like with the Little Duck Creek Trail. We've got these parks and these trails that nobody knows where they are or if they're public or not. So actually addressing the pocket park signage to create signs where we actually know where the parks are, what the boundaries are, things of that nature. And then $300 respectively for housing programming, education programming, membership programming, and the crime and safety programming. Traditionally with each of these committees, we've done a housing forum. We're looking at doing, I know Indy's looking at doing some creative ways to do an education fair next year as one of the projects. Membership, we do new member mailings, buy additional membership swag every year. And then crime and safety, we've given out bike helmets and smoke detectors every year for the last couple of years. Charlie's going to tell me that we should approve each of these separately because we're in a virtual world. What I'd like to do is have somebody make a motion to accept these MSP recommendations, and then we can open up the floor for any further discussion or questions before we vote. Oops, there was a hand up. I'm guessing, Mr. Capistar, I'm guessing you're making a motion. Joan is making a second. I'm gonna, just so that I know that we've done that. Are there any questions, concerns, any other suggestions for NSP programming? Thank you, Charlie, for so moving. Amanda, is there anything on social media? Or I don't see anything in the chat. I do see Sophie's, yes, decorate the little park, sounds fun.
We have a question back to the MCIRC board, not what you're talking about right now. That's it though. Okay. Oh wait, cancel. Before we do that, let me, if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and put the poll up. The way we've done the poll is you can actually vote each one separately. So it's going to be one polling question, and then you can either select all of them if you're supporting all of them, or you can just, you have the option for the sake of time. That way we can vote for each one separately, but it's all in one polling question. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that. And then while we're doing that, Amanda, what's the question and who do I need to spotlight to answer? So we've got 2 questions now. One is back to Alicia regarding the MCIRC board. So this is a 2-part question. The first part is, does anyone on the MCIRC board represent the voice of every, quote unquote, everyday Madisonville resident? And the second part of that question is, why do I need a resume to apply?
As far as the current board, we have 1 board member that does not live in Madisonville. They did grow up in Madisonville and lived many years in Madisonville. They actually came back and requested to serve on the board specifically to give back to the community they really cared about. So all the other board members are Madisonville residents. So as far as speaking to the Madisonville residents, they all are. Why do you need a resume to apply for the board? That's pretty typical. Most boards, nonprofit boards, when you are seeking to serve on the board, they'll either ask you for your resume or they'll ask for like a letter of recommendation from somebody. That's, I think, more so they can see what kind of skills you're bringing to the table. Most boards, I think the Citizens of the World Academy were saying they want somebody who has like an HR background, somebody with a finance background. All nonprofit boards are trying to do that. They're seeking individuals that can come to the table with some assets to help bolster the staff and make sure there's the right oversight for the organization. Your board's steering the ship of an organization where your staff is kind of like making sure the board, I guess the board's building the ship and the staff's steering the ship. Point being, they have to have some oversight and they have to know what they're doing. So you always want these skills. And that's what the resume is for. Is that adequate, or do we need some more? I'm happy to go. It's a slippery slope to get into board discussion on like board makeup and kind of how like organizations are chartered, but I'm happy to answer it. I'm pretty versed in this area.
Thanks, Alicia.
So and we just had another question come in, but I'm going to answer the first question that we had after on the Q&A. Is that okay, Kate? Or are you ready to talk about the poll?
No. I saw something about bees again.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
question. What was it? I briefly looked at it, but I accidentally clicked on that instead of the poll. What was the?
So Alexander just wanted to know who's responsible to repaint over the gray that looks worse than the bees.
That is the Department of Public Services. That is a requirement because the city's official stance is that graffiti is painted over. They cannot make allowances for any graffiti if it is not an officially sanctioned art project, because at that point, where does it end? And Alex, I think you joined in late. Captain Jones actually addressed the criminal piece of it. But that's something that, unfortunately, for instance, like the blue wall across from Mad Llama, I actually reached out to Joan because if I'm not mistaken, I think Community Council or Beautification actually painted that wall. So I'd actually reached out to Joan to see if we still had blue paint so that we could actually go out there. And if we don't have blue paint, we can go get the paint and match it just so that we don't have these big, huge gray squares. Unfortunately, the majority of the graffiti that happens in the city happens on gray backgrounds. So I'm guessing that's why they have gray paint and that's what they use to paint over it. But that is the city that handles that. They have to do it. Doesn't matter the type of graffiti. The city stance is all graffiti does not need to exist unless it's officially sanctioned artwork.
If I may, Alex Smith had stated that Madisonville paid for the wall to be painted blue and then it was painted gray. And I think that's something to touch on. That's one of the unfortunate things, regardless of how you view the bees, whether you like them or not, they are graffiti, that is vandalism. That's one of the unfortunate things when you paint over it, if you know, Madisonville citizens are out of the blue paint or don't have the money, you're stuck with the gray then. That's kind of, if somebody's gonna you know, vandalize something, you don't always get what you had back, and that kind of stinks, so.
Yep. So we are working to fix at least the blue wall back to that original blue. So we'll let you know as soon as that happens. Mr. Tim, if I can, I'm not sure what you mean by your question, so I'm gonna put you on speaker so you can further clarify. Can you hear me, Mr. Tim?
Yes.
Oh, are you referencing the community budget requests?
Yes.
Okay, so those were just submitted we had until last month to submit those. So those were just submitted. We won't know anything for several months. They will come out after all the departments, review all of the recommendations from all of the neighborhoods. They will come out with an official report. We'll be advised prior to that report being submitted or released, we'll be advised as a neighborhood what, if any, of our projects got approved.
Well, so did we submit for all three, or
we did submit
so did people submit ideas of what specifically they were wanting in each of those?
I'm not sure what you mean, the one with the street paving and curbs?
Like for streets and curbs, for example. Did people submit ideas of where the street paving or where curbs should be? We have so many, so I just wondered if there were.
So what we did is we had a couple people that did submit the streets for the street paving and curbs, and after speaking with transportation and engineering, we left it as an open-ended, robust, basically a street plan where they would actually come out, look at every single street in the neighborhood. When I talked about just a couple minutes ago with the MSP funds with doing some potentially additional mailings, unfortunately, one of the issues that we had talked about was the sidewalks. And unfortunately, the city of Cincinnati, the city's standpoint is the sidewalk in front of your house is your responsibility. What that means is that we could actually ask the city to actually come and pour sidewalks and do curbs in front of all the people's houses that don't have sidewalks, for instance, in curbs. But then that makes that homeowner or that property owner responsible for paying for that. So that's something that while we can have the city take a look at and address the street paving and potentially the curbs, that sidewalk piece is a piece that we're going to be actually asking residents, is this something we want to ask them? In addition to those three projects, do we want to ask the city to take on that sidewalk piece. But we need every single one of those residents on those streets with no sidewalks to sign off on it. So that's just one part of it. But yes, all 3 of those community budget requests were submitted. As soon as I know, I will let everyone else know what's been approved or not approved. In the meantime, yes, it's never too late. So if you are driving around and you see streets that are in disrepair, or you say, hey, there's not a curb on that street, shoot me an email. I know you've got my number, send me a text. I will add it to the list. I'm making it a point right now for myself personally to drive down a different street in Madisonville every day. If you're like me, you get used to going the same couple of routes all the time, and I kind of miss different parts of the neighborhood. So I'm making it a point now to go through and hit a different street every day so that I can see what our streets are looking like, where we need curbs, where we need some sidewalk repairs. So no, I would love it if people continue to submit those street requests.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to, by now everyone should have voted. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share the results. And it looks like the communications MSP requests passed 10 people for it. I don't see any either against or abstaining. There are 14 people voting total. Youth employment passed. Arts and Recs passed. Pocket Park signage passed as well. Housing, education, membership, and crime and safety programs all passed as well. Amanda, were there any other questions or comments in the, online or in the chat? No?
No, someone just wondering if the PLK building at Madison and Stewart was going to be marked with a historical marker or signage.
Yes, that will. That's already been submitted for historical designation. They did all the research on all of the buildings actually prior to tearing any of them down. Was that Vanessa's question? Is that tied to the house?
Yeah.
Vanessa actually asked a question, why was the slave house allowed to be demolished? And that makes sense now. She's talking about the PLK property. To my knowledge, that was never actually slave quarters. However, that is a good question. I don't see that it would have been torn down if it had been. I know they did all of the research for all those properties, all the buildings on that property prior to anything being torn down. But what I will do, Vanessa, is I will connect you with Janet Blank, who is our history chair, because she's got a lot of information about that site specifically. I know there were concerns about the other large house that was torn down. People thought that was also a historical house. I think that was actually built in the 70s to mirror the original homestead. But I will connect you with Janet. She is a wealth of information and knowledge, and she's got records for years. So we will get that addressed as well for her.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If there are no other questions or any other general announcements, I am going to go ahead and call this meeting adjourned. Our next meeting is going to be Thursday, December the 17th, right before the holidays. Just as a heads up, I know Ackerman Group will be presenting, so if you have any questions for the ongoing Madison and Wetzel, that will be your time to ask. I believe PLK Properties, which is Madison and Stewart, will have an update as well. There are a couple other development projects in the pipelines in Madisonville that will be presenting their plans as well. We will do our best to get everyone's business proposals and development proposals out a week prior to that meeting. And then if you have any questions specifically for the Jameson, which is on Madison and Stewart, or the Matamora, which is at Madison and Wetzel, if you want to submit those to our communications chair, communications@ourmadisonville.com, we can go ahead and get those questions rolling so that we can keep our meeting running as smoothly as possible. With that, everyone have a great evening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.